All right. Oh, wait a minute. We are not live yet. Because I disconnected this so people wouldn't trip on it. You're used to this, I'm sure. So, we're good.
Okay, well, I'd like to call to order the December 10th meeting of the Historic District Commission in the town of South Kingstown. It's 5:33, and our first order of business is roll call. Sharon Henderson,
Here.
Richard Yunkin,
Here.
Bettina Monaco is absent. Is the accent on the first syllable or the second one? Monaco or Monaco? Do we know?
I don't know.
We don't know. Okay. John Desmond.
Here.
And Elle Moore.
Here.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And let the record state that we've got one vacancy, so the charge is for all of us always to be out there thinking about you've got somebody in mind. Okay.
She teaches at the War College.
Wonderful. Okay, our next order of business is the approval of the minutes from October 23rd. And you should have gotten in your packet the draft meeting minutes that Brian diligently put together. I'll go ahead and introduce a couple of very minor things. On page 3 of the packet, which might have been, it's also page 3 of 338. Under the approval of the minutes from the 8/28, the last word is UNANI, which I think is probably unanimously.
Okay.
And section E, elections. This may be true, I'm not sure. It says Ms. Henderson was re-elected as vice chair. Was she vice chair before?
No,
No.
So just elected.
this is a surprise.
A good surprise.
Yeah. I don't have a meeting, but I'll get good anyway.
Any other comments? Okay. I'll go ahead and entertain a motion to approve. John. Desmond. Any seconds?
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor of approving the minutes from October 23rd, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion to approve the minutes passes. And that leads us to the correspondence and public comment section of the agenda. The first item is a letter dated November 12th from Ann Terry in regards to the Matunic Beach Historic Resources Survey. And I think the essence of that correspondence is that she's still interested and that she's going to get in touch with you in the springtime or after the holidays.
Yes.
After the holidays. Any thoughts or questions about that, about the letter? Maybe just a really quick synopsis. I won't spend too much time going over it, but we were lucky enough to be granted a help me out. What's the
CLG.
CLG
grant.
Thank you. CLG grant in order to do a survey of some properties in Matunic. And there's a interested party in the community that would like to pull together some residents and see if they can further develop potentially a new historic district in town. So that's what that activity is. Our next letter is dated the 2nd of December from Jay Bagan from Rhode Island DOT. He is, as I understand it, the assigned historic preservationist from DOT, and it's in regards to the 138 reconstruction project, for which we've got a lot of documentation which was provided to us. And open this up for discussion.
So, I mean, we have this on as a discussion item. So the,
Oh,
yeah,
further
the
down?
The letter is really just an FYI, the
Okay.
correspondence. So there's
Sure, but we can get into the discussion further down.
so you move into new business. The one thing that I wanted to mention before we get to new business is, while we elected a chair and a vice chair, we still need a secretary, somebody to keep minutes. and draft correspondence. So it's not on, well, no, I did put it on for action, so if you want to talk about it now, that would be great. If not, we can do it in January.
Would anybody like to volunteer? And I'm looking at the 3 people that don't hold a position currently. If anybody really wants to be secretary, Brian talked about what's written in the I guess our bylaws. Insofar as the bylaws state that the secretary is responsible for the minutes, Brian has been doing them for as long as he's been in this position, as has his predecessors. So the responsibilities for the secretary have been extremely light. I had at one point made the suggestion that we have the secretary at least keep us honest with action items, and that would be a nice thing for us to do. For example, I had an action item which I didn't fulfill from the last meeting, and the secretary in his or her role would call me out on that and say, Murray, you're due for your action item. So that's something that I think would be good for the secretary to do as a responsibility. If there's anybody that is really anxious about taking on that position. If no hands go up, we'll push it to next meeting, and that'll give us a chance to nudge somebody offline.
Well, we'll nominate Bettina.
Oh, we did that again. Well, given that there's very few responsibilities, I suppose that wouldn't be too harmful.
What would you consider the other responsibilities besides keeping everybody honest?
Well, certainly if Brian isn't available, or for some reason staff decides to step out of that role, then it would be taking the minutes and publishing the minutes. But he's been good enough to continue doing that for a
Brian,
while.
do you record the minutes, or?
So the minutes are always available for you to look at on YouTube.
Yeah.
If you have any questions, you can just call up the meeting and watch it. The minimum requirements for meetings are not a very high bar. You basically have to note the time that the meetings start and stop, who is in attendance, and the results of any votes taken. That's the minimum bar for meeting minutes.
And then just go look at the tape for discussion.
The degree of detail you want to put into above that is up to you. I try to just do a brief blurb of what was discussed, a one sentence of what was discussed. If something major comes up, I try to make a note of it. But when I first started, I kept really overly detailed minutes, and I can't continue to do that. If somebody else wants to do that, that's up to them.
And you're also the agenda, not only the minutes, but also the agenda for
So agendas are something that I usually work out with Murray.
Murray, the
Yeah,
president.
and if any member ever has anything that they want on an agenda, they're free to contact me or Murray, and in all likelihood, it'll get on the agenda unless we're overflowing with applications that take up a lot of time.
Okay.
I'd like to add, though, that when you do minutes for the decision on a certificate of appropriateness, you have to be very clear about what the decision is based upon, the standards and guidelines. So they have to be referenced. And Brian has been very good in his project review memo to put those down, but they have to be translated so that if it goes to court for some reason, it's very clear what the decision is based upon in the minutes.
Okay, I'll step into the breach.
Okay, fabulous.
This Revolutionary War.
Fabulous. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion that we elect John Desmond as the new secretary.
Wonderful. Do we have a second?
I second that motion.
Okay, all in favor of John taking on the role of secretary? Signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. John, congratulations. You can put it on your resume.
So the first thing I'll do, this off the record at this point, is at some point Brian can re-instruct me as to exactly what I should do.
Yeah.
I can get together with him, and then before the minutes come out, do you want to review them as the chair review the minutes.
So, did you, are you suggesting that you were going to take over drafting the minutes from Brian, or? Are
Oh,
you just-
well, I don't know.
Well,
I
that's
don't
part
know.
of the job of secretary.
That's
You just
part of
took
the
over that. duty.
I know, I know.
See, that-
I just want to make sure you're up, if that's what
Yeah,
you're looking
yeah,
for.
Yeah, and then when I've been secretary before in organizations, usually review them with the
Yes.
president to go over that, as well as review for the agenda, and then send them out hopefully maybe a week before
Right.
the next meeting. Does that sound,
For the agenda, yes, let's review.
yeah?
For the minutes, I'm okay, and
Well, because.
you can give me a day.
I'm-
You can give me a day, but otherwise, I probably won't get to it, and then I'll just have the chance to do it during the meeting like we do now.
Oh, okay, because I would think what I'd want to do is, because I'm new to it, besides consulting with Brian, I think I would want to, at least a few times around,
Perfect.
sit down with Murray and just go back over it until I feel confident enough.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I think you should go over it with Brian too. So
Yeah,
that
yeah,
it's,
Brian will tell me, no,
I think
don't
he's
ever
set a
say
very
that
good
again.
standard.
Don't ever print that. And another thing, Murray can say, I agree, don't print it.
Right.
All right,
And,
so,
and just so you know, all of this stuff is in a town agenda management software package
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
But if you can get me anything that's typewritten, I can then just cut and paste it into the agenda management
okay,
system for the minutes.
all right, all right.
Okay, very good. Moving on to the next item of business, which is new business. The first item under new business is the application. Oh, okay. So I think the certificate of appropriateness for 1859 Kingstown Road is being postponed. I
Till
believe.
January, yes.
Okay. So we can move on to the next item, which is the Rhode Island DOT Route 138, Section 106 notice. And the background here is that I think it was Rich who had asked the question about where that project stands, whether or not it's been finished, whether or not there's additional scope for the Route 138 renovation, rehab. And as it turns out, yes, there is additional scope, and yes, it is subject to Section 106. So we've got plenty of documentation that was given to us, again, from Mr. Bagan at DOT, which, surprisingly, they've gotten quite a bit done, I think, in terms of engaging PAL and having some of the due diligence around historic resources and cultural resources done. So any conversation that you folks wanted to bring up around the work that's been done and what steps we take going forward?
Well, I have a few things. Does anybody else have? You all set? The so, as I understand it, and Brian, you can help me out with this. It appears that we have 30 days to make some response. It may not be our final response, but it may be a response. And that was as of the date of the letter from DOT. So that was, I believe, on December 2nd. So we have less than 30 days. We have 25 days or whatever it is. So I was thinking about, well, what response would we make? And I think the first thing would be to second or reaffirm the need for PAL to do its survey, that's the recommended survey that they have. Apparently they want to look at those historic buildings further, possibility of a historic district in West Kingston is on the table. And they want to do their analysis of the buildings and integrity and their status, their possible status, but that's the first step. They just talked about that as being what they want to do before any more comments can be made.
And when we see the word survey, are we interpreting it to mean a survey similar to what the Department of Interior would regard as a survey?
Yeah. So it's very close, and Elle has some background in this too, I believe.
It was a phase one
Yeah.
they were talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really they've done the reconnaissance part of it, and there's archaeology involved in this as well. And what they want to do is the actual, like we did in Matunic, actually, very similar to that. So they can assess what's National Register eligible, and particularly in the area that is in West Kingston, which hasn't been, I guess, completely surveyed or was surveyed a while ago. And then there are several properties, maybe half a dozen, along the road between the Kingston Historic District and West Kingston that are individual properties that they have enumerated in their this stage one, sort of the thing that they've already done, the work they've already done. So they want to go on to the next step, and that's what they're really recommending, as I see it. Now, also on the table is what the town has already forwarded to DOT and we got that a few months ago, as what they would like to see happen in the project zone. And I believe that goes back to June, that initial correspondence.
Around then, yeah.
Around that time. And the town manager signed off on that, and so did the the safety committee. So my thought was that we would look at that a little bit more carefully and understand whether we initially said that was, those were safety things that they were talking about, and that they were certainly probably necessary and would be an asset. But we probably should look at those in more detail just to make sure that we're comfortable with them. And then if we are, then forward comments to DOT that we're in support of those recommendations. But they have to be designed. I mean, those recommendations that were provided by the town have not been designed. They're not, we can't look at them in terms of a plan. And there were two areas that were of concern to me, and that was the crossing, the way, the crossing where the interchange at Upper College Road and 138 are dealt with, and a suggestion that the town committee had to create a new sidewalk that would go from basically that intersection, down below the Congregational Church, up the south side of 138, and sort of marry up with the existing sidewalk, which is just to the east of the church parking lot. It's where you sort of drive in, the first drive into the church to get behind it. I think that's where the two sidewalks would come back together again. So if you can just imagine, up on the church level, there's a brick sidewalk that's a WPA sidewalk that's really rather handsome and has WPA plaques in it. What they're saying is that accessibility, the town committee is saying that accessibility isn't great. Because once you get up on it and you're in front of the church, you can't get down. You have to sort of cross uneven terrain, and then there's steps down at the jail. So it's kind of hard to follow through on that if you're a pedestrian. And so what they were recommending was just a secondary sidewalk alongside the road that would be at street level, that you'd sort of walk around the church basically on that sidewalk if you were like at the Tavern Hall Club and going up.
Yeah.
You would walk around, you wouldn't go up on the church level, you'd go on the bottom level, and then you would cross at this intersection crosswalk. So that's one area that's interesting. And the other area is that where South Road meets 138, and where 138 marries into or turns into a left turn into Old North Road. And I don't know if you can picture this.
Yeah.
But they put up these white sticks in the road and there's a wide bend there, and it's all pavement. And I guess what was happening was that students and other people were cutting that corner, right? So I think in terms of the design, I don't really know, because I looked at the drawings and I thought, well, this looks like they're doing this, but I'm not sure. It looks like they might fill in that corner so you can't make that cut, which might be a great idea. but we have a very important landscape there with that chain fence and the stone columns that go with the federal house
Right.
on the corner.
Yeah.
So they have to be done very well. I mean, I think probably the best thing would be to have that grassed in or something, not paved. So I mean, frankly, I think those are the two areas that I have the most concern with. How would it be designed
Right.
so it would be sensitive to the district?
And those were called out in the pedestrian committee's recommendations.
Yeah, I mean, they suggested that there be improvements, but they didn't really say anything about how they should be made,
Right.
other than that sidewalk bypass. So I suppose one could say that in a letter to DOT that we support those, investigation of those alternatives, but of course the design should be sensitive to the historic fabric.
Sure. Was there also, I don't remember, a call out in that letter that I think, not Vin Murray,
Luke Murray.
Luke Murray, that Luke Murray drafted that talked about the relatively new signage that's on both sides of 138 as you cross in front of Tavern Hall?
Yeah,
Because it's effective because there wasn't anything there before. It's very dark. It's a very dangerous crossing, but it's pretty gruesome. It's pretty ugly signage.
and there's more of that too. There's the crosswalk that goes across towards Gill and Douglas to the other side, has some things as well.
Right.
I did, that's what I printed out there was Luke's letter from over the
okay.
summer, if people want a
Yeah.
copy of it.
Yeah, the design of that signage is very similar to what's gone up on Kingstown Road near the Old Mountain Field. It's it must be a standard pedestrian crossing type of sign. See, the RRFBs, I don't really know what that is, but I think that refers to that kind of sign. It's in the highlighted sections. Do you know what it,
Up here it says rapid rectangular flashing beacons.
yeah.
That would be it.
Where did you see that out?
Here, under 4A. Yeah.
Yeah, good eyes. Wow. Okay. Rapid rectangular flashing beacons. So there may be alternatives to that signage that are more. The other thing I forgot was the memo from Luke talks about lighting, period lighting. And we would also be interested in that, but the design would have to be appropriate.
Right. There is reference in the letter that came from Mr. Bagan about lighting, but it was a little bit, hi Jamie, a little bit ambiguous as to what section of the plan it's referring to. So it states other work associated with the above items include the following: utility protection and relocation, signing, striping, permitting, traffic analysis, lighting, and landscaping.
Yeah.
It may just apply to some of the bridge work that they referenced above it. But anyway,
No.
to your point, if we can put something in there that talks about period lighting, that would be good.
There are apparently existing Cobra head light fixtures. And I think what Luke has said in his letter, which is 5C, that they want to replace those with something more historic.
Right.
So it's a question of, I think that would be kind of nice, but what would they look like? I mean, probably a 19th century kind of lantern thing would be the appropriate
Right.
style, but there can be variations on those.
There was also amongst the archaeological sites that they identified, it referenced the courthouse cemetery. Would that be the cemetery in what's now John Russell's property? Do you know? Because that's a cemetery that often goes unnoticed,
Yeah.
and it's not marked. It's not something that a lot of people know about, but it would be a good thing if they could somehow give recognition to that cemetery, since it is within that.
Is it an
That
orphan
zone.
cemetery, or nobody claims it?
Yeah, to my knowledge, very few people have acknowledged that it's there.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the previous tenants was planting a garden there at one point,
Oh,
so they didn't know.
oh, I might decorate it.
I don't know if that, is that listed in the PAL survey?
In the PAL survey, yeah.
Because they do talk about the house that's right up from there. They talk about the barn, the carriage barn, that's right on the other side of it, between it's now a rental that John Russell owns.
Right.
But it's right to the north of the cemetery. And
Courthouse Cemetery. It does have a number, SK 142. It's on page 61.
You said it's SK 142?
SK 142.
I can figure that out.
so we could actually flag that, just talk about it and flag it in the letter. Is that we can ask if that's what has been, is that what's being pointed out? They seem to be going in order, don't they? But New Fernwood, Old Fernwood. They seem to be going in order as you go from west to east.
And then the other, and I don't know if anybody else acknowledges this or if it has archaeological value, but the lot behind the fish house, the federal house, that's vacant. That's where the silversmith had lived. There was a house where Samuel Casey lived in that lot.
Wow.
So Cemetery 142 is the one behind the Kingston Library.
Yeah.
Oh, it is, okay. So it is acknowledged, great. It would be nice if we could have a sign put up there, but that's a side conversation, I guess.
It doesn't. I thought the state marked all the stuff in the state database.
Well, they may have marked it, might have been,
Yeah, it might have been
carried away by somebody.
but it is definitely shown on our tax maps. So
Okay, good.
Yeah, I thought that this is page, as just a further question, page 69, which has it's sort of a blown up map in color. Looks like this. I was sort of confused about the archaeological sites because they show a lot of URI as being an archaeological site. I mean, that's the way I'm reading it in terms of the map key. But I'm really,
Was that high probability? Isn't that what the key says? It's
is it post
recording
contact?
recorded pre-contact
Pre-contact.
archaeological site.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty amazing. And it includes that whole area on the north side of 138 that our houses are in. Including the Casey site.
Right.
But they're talking about pre-contact,
Pre-contact, sure.
which means pre-white contact. It's really interesting, by the way, to see archaeological sites.
Yeah.
Very rarely do we see them mapped like this.
Sure.
The ones that are not listed in the register.
Right. It's usually a pretty tightly held secret.
Yeah. Don't want anybody digging.
So we have a suggestion from Rich to write in response to DOT. I guess first of all acknowledging that we do want to in fact be a consulted party, supporting many of the recommendations that came out of the pedestrian committee. Maybe calling out some additional archaeological sites if there are some that need to be called out that they haven't acknowledged. What else do we want to say within that letter?
Well, that we would have concerns about or want to review carefully the designs for that pedestrian link along the sidewalk recommendation from the town, and also the intersection of Old North Road and 138, and the signage for these RRFB signage.
Be more historical.
Yeah, if there's an alternative type of design that does the same thing, but it's alternative for historical districts.
I know you often get pegged for drafting these letters. Did you want to draft it, or would you prefer that somebody else draft it with Brian's help?
Oh.
Oh, is that a secretary's job?
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, I'm supposed to be correspondence as well
Yeah.
as that.
Could
So,
be. So we
I'll
can
have to.
Oh, yeah, I love how you're jumping into this new gig, John.
send you notes.
Great, that would be fine. If you
Right.
sent notes, I mean, Brian, I'll have to ask Brian if that would be okay in the terms that they send notes about correspondence, and then I write the thing, send it back, in this case to Rich, so that Rich can say yes, no, sure,
Right.
and then present it to the board.
So, I
don't
mean,
think we
there
can-
is a problem because we can't have comments circulating throughout the entire board outside of a meeting. That would be dinged by the Attorney General's office as a rolling quorum, not conducting your business in public.
But if Rich,
If you and
Send
Rich
it.
work together,
Yes, how's that?
that's only two of you. That's
Okay.
not a quorum, so long as you
Alright.
don't engage with any of the other board members.
Mhm.
You can engage with me. I'm not a board member.
Right.
So I don't count because I don't.
I think that's how we would do it, and then
Yeah.
we do have a time constraint, so I think it's just you and I do it and connect with Brian.
connect with Brian.
So what we would need out of tonight's meeting
Is the authorization for them to do
a
it.
bulleted outline of what the letter is going to cover, and then an authorization for Rich to write the letter on behalf of the board with John's assistance.
All right, so why don't we put a motion then together? So I'll move that we write this letter that outlines our interest in participating with the review in the future, acknowledging his letter, and then also have these items that we want to suggest be more carefully dealt with. And they would be the town's, referencing the town's comments on those intersections, which would be Upper College Road and 138 and Old North Road and 138. And then being more specific about each one of them in terms of our concerns. The sidewalk that was talked about for Upper College Road and 138, and the what they're
The
doing at
church.
the intersection for Old North Road, the Simon Casey lot, and also the signage, these RRFB signage for South Road and that crossing, and also for the other two crossings.
Okay, we have a motion on the table. Do we have a second?
Sorry, maybe an amendment? Do we
Yeah.
also want to ask for examples?
Well, sorry, we'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
We'll get to that in a
Or
second.
add to?
We got a motion on the table, and we just need a second,
Second.
and now we can open up to a conversation.
I was going to say, should we ask for examples of the more historic lighting in that?
Oh, yes, we should. Yeah,
Good
I'll amend
catch.
that for that, yeah.
Any other,
Forgetting that part.
any other discussion? Okay, we've got a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Right.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries.
Now, this is just a question about when you're taking notes like this, do you have to write that complete motion? It has to,
No, I don't, because it's been recorded.
so you just listen to it. You read-
When I write it into the minutes, yes, I will do something that is pretty much verbatim. I'll clean it up a little
Okay,
bit, but
all right.
um,
I just wondered.
And what we send to DOT will mirror what the motion is, basically.
Okay, I think we can move on, unless there's any other questions or comments as it relates to Route 138. All right, let's move on to the next item, which is the draft meeting schedule for 2026.
so all I did is continue what you've been doing for fourth Thursday nights. If it's a problematic night for anybody, now's the time to speak up.
I think so.
The only thing that happens is it cuts us short because you have affordable housing.
It does.
So,
Not suggesting that they'll agree to this, but if we were to propose swapping, is this time frame better for everybody, or would you prefer a 7 o'clock time frame?
I'm fine with this.
You're good with this time?
So long as we've always had issues trying to get council chamber time, but so long as we meet in here, we're pretty much free to do whatever we want.
I like this better.
yeah, I do too.
I
The
mean,
rules,
It's more
yeah.
personal.
well, it doesn't accommodate a lot of public, but it's the very rare instance where we have a lot of public, and we can certainly move to a larger space if we need to accommodate that.
Yeah.
We have good alternatives in the council chamber. We have good alternatives at the rec center and the guild if we ever need them. And I do believe the plan is to add a video monitor there, so if we need to review anything, we'll be able to
That's a great
put it
idea.
up on the screen.
What I like about it is it doesn't have that formality, so the meeting calms down, the tension is not
Right.
slight.
Cozy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the only thing is that you lose having those big screens for
Yeah.
an application where you may need to.
Yeah, but if you have that monitor, you'd be able to do it.
Right.
So as for the timing, any preferences towards when it takes place, at this hour or later?
Was it okay? How was it with you, Ellie?
5:30 is fine any day but Wednesday.
Yeah.
It's
See,
a little
Wednesdays are
tight
fine.
on Wednesdays for me.
Well, then Thursdays would be fine.
Thursdays?
But that puts a squeeze play on you, does it?
What is it?
No,
Oh.
I like having the two meetings back to back.
Oh, you
because
do,
it's
all right.
one less night I have to give up.
Oh, okay, all right.
There's always a thought too that we could meet with affordable housing. They we would have an ability to meet with them right after our meeting if we wanted to.
Right.
It'd be easy to do that.
True enough. Okay, sounds like you don't need a vote or
I
anything.
do.
Oh, you do need a
I
vote?
do,
Okay.
because I need to send it to the Secretary of State saying that you've adopted it.
Okay, how about a motion to approve?
Make
Ellie,
a
you wanna?
motion.
Oh, sorry, so you were anxious to do it. Go ahead, Sharon.
No, a motion to approve the Thursday night at 5:30 and continue as we always have. And these chambers,
When available, yeah.
when available.
Do we have a second?
I second that.
Okay, great. Any conversation?
Also, that's Brian, do you like meeting here yourself personally?
Yeah, I think it works fine.
Okay, I didn't know if
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, no, like I said, the
You
only
don't have to do
drawback
much
to meeting here is space for the public, which we rarely need, and the lack of the video monitors, which I think we're gonna get. If not, I can pull this one around so that it faces into the room, so.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think it'll work.
All in favor of the motion on the table? Signify by
Aye.
saying
Aye.
Hearing none opposed, the motion carries. And that brings us to old business, the first of which is the discussion of potential protections for stone walls. The very brief summary of that is that we've picked from 3 different communities in Rhode Island that have stone wall ordinances. And we've reviewed it a couple of times, and I think the ball is in my court to be able to draft a recommendation to the planning department, the planning board, excuse me. So that's still something for me to do, and that's where we are. Any thoughts, questions? Do you have a passion for stone walls?
I mean, I've looked, I wouldn't say I'm passionate, but I've looked at ordinances.
Ordinances before?
I grew up with one, so.
The ones that we, I think, looked at were Lincoln. Do you remember what the other ones were? Something on the East
Portsmouth.
Bay. Portsmouth.
Yeah. There was I think we had a question before about the 3 feet. Didn't we talk about that before? And that we were gonna nix the 3-foot limit thing?
Right, because anything, anything that's even further degraded or less than 3 feet deserves protection as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, the next item is the Matunic Beach Historic Resource Survey. And I guess this meeting kicks off by saying that we still have somebody that's interested in taking one of the recommended steps that our consultant put forth, and that was to consider creating a new historic district in the Matunic Beach area.
It's a National Register district.
National, what did I say? Yeah.
Just historic district.
Historic district, National Register, yeah. Correct. Were there other recommendations that came out of that kind of was on us to move forward?
There was always the thought that somewhere along the line we'd have more explanation about what the flood issues may be, and how we could help them with the flood issue itself. But I'm not sure that was talked about very much at the meeting, at the public meeting. Only that there was a possibility of some relief. I think Brent mentioned it, but not having another.
I think that was a big concern there.
Yeah, it was.
Everybody showed up because of that.
Yeah, and it was part of the
Grant.
grant appeal to the grant makers
Right.
was that we were going to be talking more about flood hazards and helping people with historic designation. I mean, I have a real interest in that. I think it would be, again, the way to do it would be to make sure that our building official and permitting people understand what it is, so we get it straight. We aren't really talking about something that they don't endorse or they aren't familiar with, that we're all on the same page. So I think the next step would be to actually talk to Jamie Gorman or the zoning, any of the people in the building official's office who would be dealing with this.
Right.
When you say with the flood issue, is that like with the exemption from having to raise?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, being able to get a waiver.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Have you had experience with that in North Kingstown?
Yep. Yeah, so when we write decisions, we have to put very specific language in it to say that it's not precluding them from being a contributing structure in the historic district, so they can get that waiver.
Yeah, right.
And then it's also, I don't know, is this a CRS community rating system? If
It probably is. I mean, do we have a preferred flood insurance rating?
I don't know.
Because then those exemptions also play into that,
Yeah,
so that you don't, you're not all of a sudden, no, you can't elevate in class because you have all these houses in the floodplain that didn't meet the standards.
Right.
They've got-
And you get that designation by going through certain planning exercises, right? Flood mitigation and hazard mitigation.
Right. Conserving land in floodplains, and then, there's all the different categories, educational outreach. There's things that are on the building department that they have, like the elevation certificates.
Right.
It's a long checklist.
it's like compliance. But so it would be great to have a discussion, I think, with Jamie Gorman about this and to see where he's at, if there is a preferred. And most cities and towns in Rhode Island want that designation. Some of them have gotten into trouble, and they've been kind of anxious about it. because they haven't been doing everything the way it should be done.
Right. Is it actually Rich Bourbonnais who owns the hazard mitigation plan? Isn't there a staff member that has kind of a ownership responsibility for it?
I think that does flow through public services. I know, unfortunately, I'm not as up on this as I should eventually be, but we just lost Jay Parker,
Yeah.
who was a certified floodplain manager who handled all of the flood stuff and was sort of the planning department's point on the hazard mitigation plan as well. So
Well, maybe are they going to replace Jason? Jay?
yeah, no, they're going to
So
be
the-
interviewing for that position over the next couple of weeks.
And do you think that the same? Well, you probably don't know.
Well, that was not a job specification. It just happened to be a certification that Jay held,
Yeah.
which meant that sort of stuff went through him.
Well, I think just starting the conversation would be good. There might be some confusion about who's doing what, but at least we started it.
So, Brian, what would you recommend in terms of trying to understand within the staff who's got responsibilities and how it might impact historic districts?
I can certainly see if Jamie Gorman can come to a meeting. If we put him on first at 5:30 so that he can take off, that would be great. But maybe you and I, Rich, can talk about what more specifically the discussion is about.
The other thing is that we could, Brian and I could just go talk to Jamie about it
Yeah, I
and
can
get
always
his
do that during
input
the day, yeah.
during the day. And Al, if you can join us, maybe that's just two of us, right? And then we would have your input, because I think Al's input might be pretty good on this. If you've done it in North Kingstown, the Wickford Historic District, is virtually
whole
all of
thing
it's
is-
in the flood.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and you just went through a huge project in there with the bulkheads and everything.
Yes. And just re-up the CRS and the hazard mitigation was just re-adopted or updated. So
I think we're
everything
trying
at
to
once.
finalize our most recent update on it as well.
We're assuming that I did a little research on Al, so I'm going to fess up. And so I can describe. Al has the position that Brian has with us. He has the same position in North Kingstown with the
wow.
Wickford Historic District Commission, but she also has a position with the Brown Street. What's it called? The Brown Street Design.
That's the Wickford Village Design Guidelines Committee.
Yeah.
Brown Street.
Which is Brown Street.
Yeah.
So that's the main street in Wickford, which isn't really the historic main street. We'll forget that. Anyway, so Ella's really up on all this
And
stuff.
you want to do this when you get off work?
It's actually this is very different from how we do it over there, so it's a good learning experience.
Okay.
Okay, excellent. So, Rich, we'll leave it for you, Elle, and Brian.
Yeah, we can explore this. Well, and we can have case examples too. I mean, we can actually, I think part of it is, from the mapping that was done and that Brent worked on, we have to go back into Brent's work, but he did find some buildings of concern that are that are in jeopardy. I mean, even just the ones around Theater by the Sea, which is, or the ones on Browning's Beach, or that are left. There's a lot of stuff we can work with as case examples.
Excellent.
That's great.
Okay, anything else on the topic of Matunic Beach? All right, then we'll move on to the.
One other thing though, if I remember right, when that lady came to the meeting, I think it was the first meeting I attended, she said something about she would get a group of people and then invite either the whole board or some members of the board to come down and have a conversation. Was that
Do
still?
you remember her name?
Amy
And Terry.
and
Terry.
Terry.
And
Yeah.
Terry. Oh, yeah,
I'm
okay.
sorry.
I know who she is.
Is that still?
Yeah, she wrote us that she would be interested in
Posting.
continuing on with that after the
New
holidays
year,
in
yeah.
January. And having all of you go to a meeting is problematic because then
That's
her
a-
house
is
essentially
a- is
becomes
a
a public
board,
meeting
yeah.
site.
Yeah.
But if we send, 2 or 3 of you, and then you could report back to the rest of the board at the next meeting, that's fine.
Okay. That allows us to move on to the next item, the last one under old business, which is the HDC postcards to the Kingston Historic District. When we talked about this last time, we said that we'd come back with some suggestions on what message would be printed on the card itself. So these are postcards that we sent out a year and a half ago or whatever it was, just letting everybody know what the resources are for the Kingston Historic District, principally the guidelines that have been published. So if there's any thoughts around what the messaging might be. Happy holidays.
I think it's pretty straightforward. It's just getting them. I think there's a QR code on it. Is that right? On the
Yeah, I mean, we include electronic links to all of your materials so that they can get there.
Yeah.
And then there was a small block for a message, and the last message was basically, thank you for taking care of your properties. Were you aware that properties in historic districts retain their value at a better rate than other properties because of the maintenance that's done? And I mean, I could rejudge that message and send it out again, but I mean, I'm sure we're the only ones that are going to remember what was on it.
I think you're
So-
right. Could be on somebody's refrigerator, but probably not.
you could put a magnet on it.
Yeah. Okay, everybody okay with Brian rejudging?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. All right, that allows us to get to the staff update and planning department activities. The first item is the surplus property redevelopment. We've got 3 publicly owned properties: Wakefield Elementary School, South Road School, and the Oliver Watson Home, which the town is looking to either divest or promote its
Yeah, just
preservation.
Just a quick review. If you didn't see it, the town approved a plan to set aside money to actually cover the demolition of the 2 schools. South Road is looking, as a viable housing site. The Wakefield Elementary School is still up in the air, I think, despite the council seemingly strongly supporting housing at the site. There's a lot of community pushback to do something else there. But with that school now coming back into the town's possession from the school board, there's a lot of vandalism, broken windows, and stuff going on there that the town just doesn't want to deal with. So they want to get rid of that building. They also don't want to keep the heat and the lights on. So, and then Watson Farm, I think that's kind of the last one down on the list, but I think what they want to do is move forward with the work to subdivide off the Watson Homestead property, and look for people who might be willing to take that on as a project. I did speak with, now I can't remember his name, at Preserve Rhode Island, about their
Stewardship program.
stewardship program, and it doesn't sound like they've worked with that program or found anybody to work under that program in quite a while.
Oh.
It sounded like they did a couple of projects under it, and then it just sort of faded away. Not that they wouldn't do another one, but it would. He said it would have to be sort of particularly good set of circumstances and the right people willing to work within the program.
Interesting.
Where, I'm not familiar with that one. Where is that?
So this is out if
Waits
you,
Corner Road. I
Waits
think.
Corner Road and Fairgrounds Road. So you are north of 138 and west of the railroad tracks.
It's a-
on the corner there.
It's,
Yeah.
It's not on a-
It's not on the corner.
Okay.
It's a couple of houses west of Fairgrounds Road.
immediately
on
across the
Waits
street from a church.
church.
The church.
Okay. Oh, okay.
It's got about 4 acres, a barn, and a mid-century home where Oliver Watson, who was a fairly well-known mover and shaker in the town at that time.
And it,
Mid 19th
it
century.
was
Mid-19th century.
donated to the town for senior services, and it was actually used for apartments for a while. And then the town built its senior center, and it's been empty pretty much ever since then. I did go in it when we started working on these surplus property projects, and it's a lot of work, but it's not falling down either. So I think it is something that somebody could do something nice with some sweat equity.
Yep.
And the town is not unwilling to, give it to somebody for $1 on the condition that they do preservation work.
How about putting an easement on it? Having the town put an easement on it.
Preserve RI.
Have them maintain the easement. Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a great idea because what it does is it puts the onus on Preserve Rhode Island or whomever else to ensure that it be done properly. And the town doesn't have that responsibility then. And then they can find a tenant or some sort of new owner who's willing to work on it. But they don't have to baby it. They have another agency would actually be doing that.
Right.
So,
I'm not sure the logic behind parceling it off. Plenty of developers would, if they find interest in the other buildings and there's more of a market rate for the other buildings, they could easily invest in that property. And I think there's an advantage to having a single development because then you're creating something that's
it has more base to it.
it's more, yeah, it's perhaps even designed around that building as opposed to having something that looks kind of out of place.
That's not the direction that the surplus property project has gone in. It's always sort of treated carving that house off as its own separate project.
For the purposes of preserving it.
Preservation, yeah.
But if it had an easement on it, then you wouldn't have to worry about it.
Well, the other thing they
But-
could do instead of an easement is just create a mini district out of it and give it to us to look after. Follow what we had talked about for properties outside
Oh, a landmark.
landmark separate district.
Right.
The enabling law allows a district to be composed of one building.
Okay.
So you can create an individual house as a separate district if you want to.
And that was the only district we had in Coventry, was the Nathaniel Green
Yeah,
homestead.
they did that. There again, I mean, East Greenwich lobbied for that because they have separate houses. They always had in their
Right.
purview.
How historic is the interior, or is it like when you say it needs work? I mean, has it had random updates over the years of?
Not so much. Jenny actually took a look at it, and she thought it had some really good value to it.
Ginger,
Ginger did, yeah.
Ginger did.
Yeah.
Huh.
Just if it was under our purview, we would lose that interior oversight. I don't know if there would be like value
You're right.
for the interior. If it was a private residence, it wouldn't really be. But if it was like a public historic resource, then maybe that would be something that we would want to also preserve.
Right. So that's where the easement would
So the easement would take
would
care of
work.
it.
Yeah. So there are two options there.
I don't even have to ask how the town council would react to this, because I think I know. But any strategies for how we could propose something like that?
I mean, I think when we get a little farther along in time and they're actually talking about, you know, development of that site, yeah, you probably could. If you ultimately you're giving somebody an acre of land potentially, or you know, a half an acre of land in West Kingston that is valued at $400,000 or $500,000, asking them to accept it with a preservation easement on it and the condition that they work to preserve the home is not unreasonable. I mean, effectively, you're giving them $500,000 to
Yeah.
do their restoration work.
Right.
Or I guess the third option also would be that they could take advantage of the tax credits, and then RHPHC would have more purview over the interior as well. They would really
Yeah.
be sensitive to
Sure.
that.
Became an income producing property. Well, it's not listed in the register though.
No, it's not.
Is there any chance that we could see it? That any of us could go with you to see it?
I don't know. I can ask about getting keys to it.
I realize it would be.
I've already seen it. I don't need to go
I need to go. Yeah. I'd like to see it.
It's an interesting house on the inside. I mean, like I said, there's some potential there.
Mm.
Not for lack of work, but there's some potential there.
It's also the size of the lot that you create with it. If you know that, well, I think that the consultants, the architects who did the designs and proposed affordable housing designs, they came up with some that were really acceptable as to go with that house. And so, thing to do would be take the one that I think everybody agreed was the best, and look at how much property was given over to the house. I think
Right.
one of them had the house and the barn, and the other half of the lot was devoted to the affordable housing.
Right.
And so one would hope that the subdivision looks at that and says, that's the one we want, let's make the subdivision work.
Well,
And-
whether anything of that barn is salvageable is highly questionable.
Yeah, it's mainly to get the distance, to get a little
Yeah.
bit of free
But if you
zone.
included that land, that is a very sizable lot, a very nice lot.
Yeah. Which also makes it really appealing. And I think, Brian, you're absolutely right. If you give it basically to somebody, why not have the easement on it?
Right. Who is leading the effort on the surplus property? Is there a staff member that owns that?
Luke Murray is really spearheading that. He's the one that wrote the memo outlining the expenditures for the demolitions and everything like that. So,
Right.
the priority right now initially is to get the 2 school buildings taken down. And from there, I think the first priority is going to be getting somebody on board to actually do the plan and development for South Road. And then they'll move on and start looking at the other 2 properties.
Right.
Now, what happens after South Road, I don't know. The Watson property is probably an easier one in terms of public opinion to do something with. And Wakefield Elementary School may get simply kicked to the end because the council may be reluctant to deal with it. I don't know.
Well, I would think, and I understand the timeliness of it, or the fact that the right time to really engage on it is later on when they start thinking about the project itself. But sending a preemptive letter to Luke by saying, look, I think there's alternatives. The town my feeling on it is that, you know, the town, if they truly want to be good stewards of historic properties, practicing it on on properties that they own is the way to start. So having them do what's required to preserve that building. Anyway, that's the tone of the message that I would like to put in front of Luke.
Well, if you want to take a whack at a letter, I mean, even an outline or something, I'm more than happy to work
We
with
make
you
a
on it.
motion that Murray Gates write this letter and, with what you've just described as a preemptive letter. These are the things that you could do. The letter would be written to Luke Murray, and you know, we stand by, willing to help in any way we can with the specifics of it.
We've got a motion on the table.
I'll make a second. Oh, we just, no, you just said.
Yeah,
the
it's a motion, yeah.
That's a motion.
You're a second?
Second, yeah.
Any conversation? Further recommendations? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. I'll bring it to the next meeting, or I'll send it to Brian, and Brian can
Yeah.
include it in the next agenda.
Good.
And then the second staff update, Main Street, an application was put in to be accepted into the Gross Smart's Main Street training cohort. The town did not put it in, somebody else put it in on behalf of the properties on Main Street. So at this point, it's an independent effort.
Okay.
The town was in support of, though, right?
Yeah, the town was in support of it, but somebody pulled the trigger before the town did. So.
It's that's pretty common, though.
Well, and in all fairness,
Usually you partner with the town.
the Main Street organizations ultimately have to run themselves. They're not part of the town.
That's right.
The town was interested in being involved in the training cohort so that A, we could learn about it, and B, we could lend assistance where they might need or want it. But if they have enough people involved from the outside that are going to continue with it, then they should follow that.
All right, good to hear. Kind of tangential to this, the Sheldon's project, is that, where does that stand?
So I know Rich asked about this the last time, and I meant to make copies, but yeah, that's all approved and is moving forward, and you know these, so that's the design that ultimately was approved by the.
How's everybody's eyes?
And I can make copies if anybody wants them. The front street views are on the page that you flipped over from the first page, Murray.
Okay, I'm just looking to see, hopefully that's not the detail in the windows, big black holes.
What property is that?
Sheldon's on Main Street.
Okay.
You'll
I understand.
recognize it.
Is anybody holding them to anything, or is it just,
No, they don't have any.
that's terrible.
Our Main Street doesn't have any design review, other than the grant that was given for the front, which came through the ARPA funds. There are some. Some of this was reviewed underneath that.
Who is the owner?
It's a consortium, actually,
Yeah.
and they own property in Wickford,
They do.
and they own property in East Greenwich.
Is everybody in East Greenwich and happy with the situation?
In Wickford, they're under historic guidelines.
Okay, you're in the district, right?
Yeah.
And you don't,
But good to work with.
I just wondered if they,
I mean, they've been fairly cooperative. I mean, the initial designs that we got had different siding and windows on it, and the planning board pushed back that it, you know, they didn't want to see the filigree copper look go away, and so they made them redesign and and change out some
Oh,
siding
okay,
and
well,
whatnot.
that's nice.
The windows are going to change, but the windows that are there are not original anyway.
Okay.
So they're gonna do their best to put something in that's, you know, more energy efficient. And it'll look different, but may actually look more like what
McGeorge.
was historically
Originally.
there.
Various Greenwich architects. I don't really know them.
And they do that's their baby is historical.
No, not necessarily.
They own the Muse property, the
Yeah.
old building on Main Street.
The Phil's building, they bought that. So the Phil's, their restaurant is gonna become the restaurant for the hotel.
So there's not gonna be one in the hotel.
The only food service that they're gonna have in there is basically a coffee bar
Okay.
in the morning.
That's what yeah. That's what I heard.
And then clients are gonna have to walk up the sidewalk to Phil's for dinner.
And then
Which I think they'll love anyway, cause the rooftop thing there is great and it's a nice little restaurant.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's all gonna be dependent on who they hire
Who
to
they
do the
hired
cooking.
to
Right.
prepare the food.
It's open now. They renovated the interior and I saw people eating there last night when I
Oh, wow,
so.
okay.
It's at Wickford on the Water and JB's on the water. I think it's also called in Jamestown. That's the same restaurant.
Really?
Okay, any other questions on Main Street?
Only that we should probably just if you have a chance, just photograph it now, the building. We can give that to,
The inside?
no, the exterior. We can give that to Erica, because they've taken off the asbestos siding. I just noticed that today on the back side.
Oh,
So you can see the clapboards, the original clapboards underneath it.
I think before they fixed this, at one point there was like paperwork falling out. of
Yeah,
it.
yeah, it was a mess. Yeah, I guess what we can say is the building was destined to be, go up in flames or fall down on itself if these folks hadn't come along.
Yeah. My father, as the local insurance agent, always said it was a tinderbox ready to go up in flames.
And I do understand that we can verify this, but I think the records of the store got transferred to the South County History Center,
Nice.
which they had a full run
Yeah, I think I saw that.
of records.
It's neat.
Okay. Recurring discussion topics, coordination with the Affordable Housing Committee.
That hasn't happened. I mean, since I last connected with them.
Anything that you had hoped to achieve in the near future with them?
Only that they would, we'd have more discussions. I think the last that's in the minutes that I described was not going for a full meeting with them, but having more informal discussions with them about the three projects, the affordable housing projects, and maybe the Watson Farm. But this seems to be out of their hands, doesn't it? At this moment, that they aren't really participating that much
In
discussions about the schools projects or the Watson Farm.
not at the moment. I mean, there isn't really an active project for them to discuss at this time.
Right.
One of the hopes by taking the buildings down is that it will attract more developers when we get to a point where we put out a request for qualifications or a request for proposals,
Yeah.
because they'll have a clean site to
Yeah.
work with. They won't have to deal with that expense.
Yeah.
And it's a sizable expense. I mean, over $500,000 to take down each building, so.
Yeah.
It's almost unfortunate that they're going to take down Wakefield School if they don't know what they're going to do with it, if it's still up in the air. I mean, reuse could be one alternative, but it won't be once it's gone. Anyway, that's my...
Well, the discussions with a member of which I had, of the committee, was really about information sharing about adaptive use projects, and he was interested. It was Peter Swain, interested in mill building, adaptive use, and the sort of the standard historic preservation, adaptive use stories. And we talked, about the mill buildings that exist in South Kingstown and old buildings that are warehouse type buildings, or the second stories of the Main Street buildings and third stories if they exist, that those traditionally have been opportunities for historic rehab and tax credits if they're in historic districts. So Peacedale and Wakefield are two historic districts that have that kind of building type. And how could we distribute more information about those advantages to the property owners? And I think, that's sort of where we ended. How could we assemble that kind of information and make it comprehensive and readable and easy to understand,
Right.
comprehensible? It was I think that it's a little frustrating because it does require some communications with the property owners, and how do you go about doing that? We could put a lot of information on the website, but that doesn't mean that they'll go to the website to look at it. So we were sort of going around in a circle about that to some degree. I have to talk to him some more. He was the person who was chosen by the committee to talk to me about it after we brought it up one day, one of our meetings.
Okay.
He's still on the committee, isn't he, Peter?
Yeah.
Any questions for Rich on Affordable Housing Committee outreach? Okay. The 250th celebration. Any updates from our liaisons to 250th?
Everything's, I think, on time. The first one, well, there, speaker series, go.
Speaker series start January 16 is the first one. They'll put out a like a flyer, two kinds of flyers. One of like a schedule. The ones I've dealt with for January through June. Sharon has the ones through June through August, and they're at the Contemporary Theater. The summer ones. South Kingstown High School allowed us to still use their auditorium through June when they slammed the doors shut on the place in general. And so we have February is an open date right now, although there is a possibility, and then there's March, April, May. We also are doing both with Sharon's group as well as mine, coffees and cookies, which we're able to get from Shaw's and from, what's next door to Shaw's? I can't think. Begins with a P.
Yeah, Panera.
Panera, yeah, Panera.
And any of the topics preservation oriented?
Well, the group that on the Nathaniel Green in general will bring in something about his home. Other than that, with in general, but no, they're basically South Kingstown Revolutionary experiences, and a couple of them are from the 300th. Christian McBurney, and it was 1/300th. Evan Wilson, who did the naval history, Oliver Hazard Perry, he did with the 300th, and now he's doing something about the French in Newport. And you have Nathaniel Green as one of Washington's principal aides, and we also have an interesting group on the costuming. What did these people wear? That's a possibility. The person has gotten back to me, then has disappeared, but I put a spot in for him. In other words, what did they wear at this time? Women and men, and that came up part of with Burns's American Revolution, where they did costume extras in what they thought to be the kind of thing, and it's generally speaking a kind of pleasant there. But I'll defer to Sharon as far as the rest of them, if she wants to. Otherwise, I'll just
And it was more to just see if there's any overlap with preservation.
no.
We don't have any
No,
preservation.
we have no
At one point, you were asking about all of the homes, trying to identify all of the homes that date back to the Revolutionary
Right,
era.
because I was doing like a scavenger thing. That would really be nice.
Well, we could do that probably, give you
Yeah.
that information.
Yeah, because that would be something to present too. Yeah, I'd like to do that.
There's some great stories about different properties too.
We have an opening in October in there, down there. There's October the 1st, and we're doing a speaker forum under the stars, Wakefield Under the Stars, along the Sagatucket. It's going to be on the outside theater,
Oh, neat.
and like we've got this. Have you ever seen McNiff? Robert, have you ever seen John McNiff?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think so.
he's going to be on that stage. There he is, right there. If you'll come up.
He's Roger.
Him, and he is. I mean, I've never in my life. Have you? You know who I'm talking about? Oh, he's just when he starts talking, you can ask him any question, and it's exactly that time. I mean, what about the Narragansetts? And he just knows. So he's talking about before he came over, and when he's talking about the smell of the bodies burning, you know, at the stake because of and it's so. So hands-on, you know, it's so much better than just a lecture.
Yeah.
You know what the lectures are like, you know. So-
However, he's got one opening. He's going to go to Brickley's, pick up an ice cream cone,
Yep.
walk across the street to Contemporary Theater, and said, "Oh, I wish this ice cream shop was around in 16 whatever." You know? And this is
and he didn't need any equipment. He's just going to be on the
no,
stage.
yeah.
And so the other problem with the other speakers is we've got a professor from Brown University, Scott, Max Scott, and he's going to speak. His speech is going to be about Native. There's a lot of talk about the Native population and the people of African heritage. You know that whole. Have you been watching the Revolution with Ken Burns?
Yeah.
Okay, that's really big right there. So that's what most of our speakers are about, and we were going to. They want to have their monitors in there, so I approached the town. They have a big screen that's outdoors for movies. You heard about that?
No.
Terry's.
Terry.
Yeah.
does
Have you
that
seen
in
it?
the summertime
No,
in the
I haven't.
park.
We're going to see if we can't take that down to the theater so we can be outside. That's the whole idea. Be downtown, be outside, and it's summer, and see these series.
Yeah.
And attract, tourists coming into town.
Yeah, people like to advertise on the marquee, not just the local.
Nice.
So that's the PR on that, and that's the summer part. Then they've got they're gonna have a skirmish on the Sagatucket, which is in February.
February.
In Sagatucket Park?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. And they're going to
Valley Forge. That's what they're trying
Valley
to recreate.
Forge, sort of a recreation of Valley Forge. And if you saw the Revolution, it wasn't like you saw the. Anyway, and they're going to have all reenactors. They're paying for. I think they've got 13,000 in it so far, and they're paying for reenactors from everywhere to come in and set up an encampment and just kind of. And they're going to have rides into the cemetery. They've got. I'm not sure their plans, but they're really planning that big.
Good.
And then the other thing they're having is they're just embellishing the monument, not the monument, but the 4th of July parade, and they're going to have a bonfire. That's it. And I'm trying to get a monument.
I'm trying to get a
So the Veterans Memorial, the new Veterans Memorial, is at the point on the agenda?
Yes, that's the point on the agenda. That's why I thought I was going next.
Mhm,
Okay.
yep.
So I brought this. This is kind of just a drawing of what it may look like. There was a lot of misunderstanding. First of all, this thing was, I don't know if you know, this monument was refurbished with a conservation group out of California.
Oh.
And I think it was 2015 or 2018. $33,000, and that's a cement. And this is by Tickle, and this is all Gorham, and this is Caroline's project. And this circle right here is made out of cement, which is really problematic. And what we're proposing is westerly granite.
That's for the little one.
The little one, and
Yeah.
it's 36 inches high, and then the eagle is completely carved out of stone. It's not a cement eagle. And it'll have 64, we've been working with the University of Rhode Island with some students there, and Christian McBurney, and that's all in here. And this is what I was gonna present, but they kicked it back to, I'm not sure. But if you go to, I want to talk about the historic rationale, but you can find out in here in this, without taking too much time, you can read, and just talks about how the names were decided upon and how
Yeah.
authentic they are. It's extensive research.
Yeah, you presented that
I did,
before.
right, okay.
Yeah.
So then, that's the validity of the historical names. But the point I want to make here is that the historic part about it is there was a set of guidelines from historic preservation, the National Register, yeah. And it said that if you put anything close to a historic monument, if it's a building or anything, whether it's a structure or building, it cannot copy it exactly, but it has to mimic it.
Oh,
It cannot be
interesting.
the same size. So this fits all those standards. I have those standards. I tried to put that in the validity of historic research is in here. And so that was a problem. And then, well, not a problem, but that's one of the things that we got concerned about. Another element was that when the designer first wrote this, he didn't know. He had a picture of this monument. He said, here's what it's going to look like, and he put it over here. Well, over here is a drainage. Have you ever seen that over beside the
There's a swale,
There's
yeah.
a swale, and it looked like it was going to be on the swale. So this whole thing came up about engineering designs and all this. No, and it wasn't sized. It actually had some engineering students come up, and we measured it. I've got it all measured out, and then put it in the location it's supposed to be. And then there's nothing there. We've gone there after rain and everything, and then it might have to have a small, engineering thing, but it doesn't need to survey if it had been over there. I didn't understand what the thing was. Okay, then after that, the only other thing is we were looking for some possible other ways to fund it through, like they did at the 350th through WIC, is it called WIC, HISWIC?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they partnered with them, the 350th
Yeah.
committee in North Kingstown partnered with them, and they would funnel, because a lot of people don't like to give big funds into the town because they just
Right.
like it, whatever it is.
Right.
So we went to the South County Historic Society with Erica and put it before the board, and their conclusion was that they didn't think that there should be another monument, and they thought that there should be another plaque.
On the
Okay.
original monument, right?
So we did the research on that, and it came out that there's 50 examples of this exact companion monuments. And they also thought in their thinking that if we segregated this with names only of indigenous people and
And the
African heritage people, then 100 years from now, they would look at that and say that's disproven. There's these monuments all over where they're companion. 100 years ago they were built. This is a very typical, by the way, style, except most people did out of granite. In Westerly, they put this monument out of granite, and they're solid. This thing is crumbling.
Sorry, the point that you were making was that it would be interpreted as a segregation
A segregated.
monument.
Yeah, right.
Were they to be divided between the two?
Right,
Right.
and there's examples of segregated monuments all over, and I put those in a paper. And so the segregated, like there's one in Philadelphia, it's to all the colored people, and they're listed in the state of Pennsylvania it's totally segregated, standing next to the monument
And
with.
they use that adjective,
Hmm?
they say colored.
They say colored back then.
Yeah, right, okay, back then, yeah, all right.
Yeah, but that's what's on their monument,
Right,
to all the
yeah.
colored people, because that was the terminology then.
Oh, yeah.
And it's all over the place. There's segregated monuments to Jewish people. In the Exeter Cemetery, there's one that they just built for all the indigenous. There's an indigenous monument. So this is not atypical at all. And this is not, there's examples of monuments that are 100 years old that were companions that did not exist.
Right.
So, and I've got photos of this. It's crumbling again. After $33,000, it's all crumbling again on the top. So I don't think I think anybody would say the structure would hold another plaque. We have 100 and 107 and 60, about 170 names, but 62 more are going on. There's 107 on this, with this one. And you do know all the wars are on here up to World War One.
Hmm.
Okay, so that's what I'm trying to, and the concept is, they just haven't, right now at the University of Rhode Island, they just put up an indigenous studies curriculum, and they are building a building for that. And they're gonna move the Tamaqua
Tamaqua
Museum into it.
Yeah.
Okay, and so Mac Brown would like, he's trying to get the curriculum in public schools, and thought this would be a nice teaching area too, to bring people in, because that's why it was originally put on these grounds. It was a school, people could see.
Right.
So that's the update on the monument. So we're trying to push that, we're trying to do that. There's a lot of public interest in this.
So I just have one question about the design of that. Is it a round cylinder that's out of
Yes.
granite? It's not square, it's round.
No, it's round.
Okay.
It mimics this. It's got a
Mimics it.
base. It's supposed to be similar. That was the idea.
Yeah.
And I should have. There's a whole book on Westerly granite. You should see where Westerly granite is. It's in Gettysburg.
Yeah. There's-
It's in New York. On all Westerly granite is the finest granite made that comes from the United States. It's very expensive, and most people don't have anything made anymore out of Westerly granite because it's too expensive. They go to Vermont, or most of it's coming from China.
Very good. Anything that you need from us, Sharon?
Well, just if you could support that concept of what we did, to try to keep it in the correct, under the validity of historic research and the validity of the shape and what the standards are. If you're going to put a new structure next to a historic structure, you got a set of guidelines. You don't do that. Planners.
Well, we have those, the Secretary of Interior standards. That's what
Okay.
you're referring
Mhm.
to. And yeah, the aspects of it is you don't want to overwhelm the historic piece. You want to make it not radically different, but compatible with it. It's like building a house, a new house next to a historic house. It's the
That's
same
exactly
thing.
what the guidelines came from.
Yeah. So,
Are there standards that we can call out that speak specifically to monuments?
I think we could probably find them. Yeah.
I love that.
They're probably in the Park Service. They're probably in the whole business of if you look on the National Park Service website and you look for historic standards, it probably is something about them.
This is
Monuments.
monuments are a whole different thing.
Yeah, I would imagine they've covered it somehow. Maybe it's in landscape, the landscape section. I don't
This
know.
is not. This is something I'm
Certainly,
learning.
that's something that we, as a Historic District Commission, could support,
Okay.
is a reference to the Department of Interior standards,
Okay.
the Park Service.
Yeah.
Anything else on the memorial for Sharon?
There was no other design alternative that you came up with other than what we've seen. Just wondering about the monument itself. It's such a tricky thing because I understand what John is talking about and others at the South County History Center about the segregation. Have the Narragansetts looked at this at all?
That they're the ones that are like
They're
huge support of this.
They are
Yeah.
okay. Good.
Dr. Scott is a Narragansett.
Yeah. So
Their whole community is coming together for this.
good.
They want to do they want to burn something that there's like a lot of Narragansetts that are involved in this.
Sounds like it would be in the interest also of preserving the first monument by not trying to add to it when it's already.
Yeah, don't mess with it, kind of.
I don't think you're supposed to. I think I've got that in the research I've done too.
Because you change the artistic quality of it, whatever that is. And didn't you even have the designer of the original in your? Is that
Yes,
person in
yes,
here?
yeah, it was in that one piece I gave you the last time.
Yeah.
Tickle is his name, and he used Gorham pieces. And these were very popular at the time, these eagles. They're everywhere in New York. I saw pictures of them and photographs of them in New York. They're on buildings. That's very common for this period.
When was it done, in the 30s?
1932, it was
Yeah.
put up for George Washington's birthday.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And we're
It's
getting
sort of the
close there,
WPA
90-something
thing.
years. Hmm?
It's a WPA thing, the Eagles.
Oh, the Eagles? Oh, okay.
It's in that style. You know how the Eagles get on the post office buildings and all over the
That's
public
right,
buildings?
yeah.
They're like,
That was
that's
WPA?
that. Yeah, it's a time period, 30s, up until the Second World War. After the Second World War too. Eagles.
Okay.
They're not golden.
It's a very emotional thing. There's a lot of people in the tribes, a lot of people of both African and indigenous mix.
Yes.
Very, very, very involved in this.
Well, this whole the whole story about them being involved in the revolution is huge.
And one of the questions is when they're talking about, this is a good one, burying. Who's going to be here? You know, there's monument selection criteria, and it's up to each town. I've done. This is what I spend my life doing. I'm looking at different towns and what they did, what their criteria is. You're going to build them out. What's your criteria? Who's going to be on the monument, right?
Yeah.
And so some people, they have different standards. So, you know, or did they die? Were they residents of the town? Is that the only criteria? No, it's not.
Yeah.
Did they some protect the town? You know, like a police force? And another one is, were they buried in the town? And my grandfather is on this monument. I don't know him. And he was born not in Germany, somewhere. Anyway, he did his whole military career, and when he met with grandmother, he's in Groton. He retired out of Groton. He was what do you call it? A recruiter.
Worked for EB?
No,
Sorry.
no. He was a recruiter, and he went to get something done at Brooklyn Hospital in the 30s, and before he died, and my grandmother came back with my father and her sister. He was buried in Riverside, and they all came from. They had all the and he's on the monument.
He's on this one.
So there is a precedence right there. I got precedence that I know of that story. He's on the monument.
Yeah.
So we have to come up with the reasons, and then you're working with Christian, and he's got his reasons, and the town gets to come. We get to decide, you know, as a committee, but that's hard because there is one revolutionary soldier who was a doctor, and he was captured, and he was held aboard a ship in the Caribbean, and he came back, and they made him doctor in the Caribbean to the British. And when he came back, he married a girl from here. He lived here. He's I can't think of his name right now, but he this is where he did his whole life. And he's not necessarily be on the monument, but because that's not what I'm doing right now, but he should be considered prisoner of war from South King. I mean, he should be on the South Kingstown list when they list the prisoners of war because he died here.
Yeah.
He lived here.
He was from here.
Hmm. He wasn't from here. He fought in Connecticut.
Oh, huh.
I think I'd like, if we can, take us to our final agenda item, unless there's something else.
No,
on
I'm
the
through.
memorial. Okay. This is at the time when we ask for folks to make any recommendations for our next agenda item, our next agenda.
Can I say one more thing? And I said something to you about it. There's another girl by the name of Joan Nepo who was applying, and she went and filled out all the paperwork. Not paperwork, but she filled out an application. And then she got up here to do it, and they said you have to have a resume, and that happened to me too.
Yeah.
It should be on the website. I think it would be good to put it on the website that that's a requirement.
That's part of the
That's part of the
application
application
process.
That's part of the CLG requirement, because I have to send those.
Well, I think it's a good requirement. I just think it needs to be announced ahead of time. Can you get that on there?
I can try. I mean, I've asked, I'm glad that the clerk is asking, because, I did ask her to tell people that we needed that. It's not essential, I don't think it's essential for the application process, because I'm not sure that the town is reviewing it, but we need to have it for when I do my annual report for the CLG, which I'm putting together now. I'm gonna need your signature on it, Murray.
Brian, we do have to, you can talk to Andy about this, Andy Tights, but we do have to be careful that the members, their their experience and their background match what the enabling law requires.
So that I've talked to HPHC about this, and the enabling law is not very specific, and I don't think there's a lot of teeth in it.
But it's sort of like that distribution of talent. And so if there's an architect, or if there's a preservation planner, or if there's a historian, that would show up on the resume, whatever it is.
Right.
You know, doesn't have to be the very best architect in town or the very best
I
planner in
understand,
town.
but yeah, you're right. A distribution of qualifications
yeah, 'cause
amongst the group.
I think that would, if you had a court case, I think that would be a problem if you didn't have that mix. If you had some other mix.
Yeah.
Because then the court, you could see how somebody could contest their decision if they didn't have the right background as specified in enabling law.
Right. Just point to me and that would kill your case right there.
Yeah, chicken farmer, what's he doing?
On that note, can we have a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
We've got one, we've got a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I'm sorry about getting so,
You're doing good work, Sharon. Keep